which we're not able to meet. If Hashem asks us to do something, we're able to do it. Dahainu, in other words, when Hashem makes a demand of a Yid, Dover Mesuyam, a certain thing, Umat Alav Tafkid Mesuyam, and he gives him a certain obligation, says the Rebbe, Neis, and Hu Asakecha is the Eibush also gives him the strength, Sheyuchal Amalezeh, to be able to realize it. So the Rebbe says, Kivan Shakadosh Baruch Hu, whereas the Eibush, he placed upon you the obligation. Gan Yisroel, of raising and directing Yiddish kinder. Bevada, there's no question that he also gave it necessary strength. That you should succeed. To influence the children, that they should go in the good way, which of course is derech ha-Torah, the way of the Torah, shemevia eisher amiti b'chayim, which brings real oisher. Oisher means glik, good fortune, meaning, purpose, usefulness, delight in life. Ella, it is only that shem shebechol davar. Hashem for sure gives you the koyches to carry out your mission. But just like in everything, yeshna b'chira chofshes, there is free choice. So therefore, taka, the koyches were given to you. Hareze totally, but it depends upon your will. Shetirtla, you should desire. You should utilize the koyches you were given. Va'kasher raktirtzu, if you will only have such a desire, bevadai tatzlichu, certainly you should succeed. So the Rebbe says the Eibush that chose you, and if the Eibush that chose you, the Eibush gave you the koyches. And now you have to choose, and the choice depends on you. And the Rebbe concludes, Yitein Hashem Yizbarach, the Eibush should give, Shetirtzu be'emes lenatzel as hakoyches shalachan, you should truly desire to utilize the strengths you were given, va'az, and then tatzlichu, you will succeed, laham mideh, to establish a generation, sha'alav tuchlu leim mitechregesh amiti, regarding whom you will be able to say with real feeling, see the offspring that we reared. The Cholze Yovi Gamat. Stop. So the Rebbe said, you have a shlichus, and I talked about this last week on Tuesday or Monday. I didn't teach Tuesday, but I talked about this last week on Monday when I gave you the class. That when kids go to be counselors, it's very important. Kids are teenagers. Some are 16, some are 17, they're 18, but they're not men and women, they're children, they're boys and girls. They have to go into it before with the sense that there's nothing wrong with a girl and a boy going to camp and having a good time. But there's something very wrong with a boy and a girl going to camp and thinking that they went there to have a good time. The opportunity in camp of changing the lives of the children that they have under their tutelage, by teaching them how to make a bracha, by telling them a story about the Baal Shem Tov, and talk to them about whatever other inyanim that they're kalim for, is unbelievable. But the kids have to go into it with that mindset. If the counselors go to camp and the thing most important is how many days off they have and how much fun they're going to have, that's really bad. If, on the other hand, they remember this yesod, the hatzlacha of camp is unbelievable, and that's what the Rebbe is talking to. And the Rebbe concludes, V'chol zeh yavi gam hatzlacha, this all should bring also success, binyanim shalachem, in your personal things, v'chol hapratim, in all details. In other words, you have to be busy with others, and the Eibishter will look after you. And the Rebbe concludes, Yiten Hashem Yizbarach, the Eibishter should give lachen to you, kayitz bari, a healthy summer, begashmi to beruchnis, physically and spiritually, v'tinatzlu as a kayitz, you should utilize the summer, hein beruchnis, hein begashmi, spiritually and materially. Shekein, because lefi divrei Baal Shem Tov, according to the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, yechel l'mavad as Hashem Yizbarach hayedei agashmis, one is able to serve Hashem with gashmias, lei pochos me'asher hayedei haruchnis, no less than when he serves Hashem beruchnis. That's the whole chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov. So gashmis can also be avodas Hashem. V'tavdu es avidaschen b'simcha, to levav, you should do your work with joy and with delight, whatever do we want. And the Sicha finishes achach panak kvei kedushat admur shlitul reish mem, Who's Reish Mem? It's not Hecht, right? Who's Reish? This is Kempa Muna. I don't know who Reish Mem is. If this is said about the counselors, is the counselor of the counselors. Both as far as the responsibility is concerned. As well as the merit. Reish Mem must have been, I don't know, the director of learning, or I don't know who Reish Mem is. Doesn't say. It's 1960, I wasn't yet born, so I have no idea what this is. Anyway, okay, so this is the Sicha that the Rebbe spoke to the girls who were going to camp. Turn to page 169, okay? This is, it's B'siyata D'Shmaya, Rashi Dvorim Yem Gimel, Pashas Kerechov, of Sivta Shchof, the Talmidei Akita Mesayemes B'Yeshivas Oyel Moshe. Now, I don't know who Yeshivas Oyel Moshe is, but I have a sneaking suspicion, and more than a sneaking suspicion, that this has to do with Yitagehesen. Right, but why did they come to the Rebbe? Because their principal was Steinmetz. The principal was Steinmetz. Steinmetz was a Besrifka principal. Steinmetz told us once that the average life expectancy of a principal in Besrifka was 6 months. So he did his 6 months in Dafshin Yud Bey. So he took what they call up in the real world a paying job. But a Lubavitcher he was. So as long as he was a principal, he used to bring his children to the Rebbe when they graduated. So I believe that the reason this yeshiva Oyel Moshe came to the Rebbe was in his chus. You're going to have to take him, yes? Yes. What is your name? Yeah. Bepashas HaShavua, the Pasha of this week, Misuper Odis HaMachloikes Shahoisa Al Kuhunas Ahare. It discusses the Machloikes, the descent that happened over the Kuhuna of Aaron HaKeim. V'hasimin v'ha'edos, the sign and the witness, al kuhunase, that the Eibishter provided for his priesthood, shebei bocher HaKadosh Baruch, that the Eibishter chose. Right, so there was a machlokes against the Kuhuna of Aaron, and the Eibishter made a nes to establish the Kuhuna of Aaron, and then he made a simin. He gave a sign to preserve the Kuhuna of Aaron. What was this sign? Sheparach matei Aaron became the stick of the staff of Aaron blossomed, and it produced in a matter of one night finished shkedim. Shkedim means almonds. Almonds are a type of nut. They're very big, but they grow very, very quickly. They take a few weeks to grow, and that the Eibishter made a nest that the shkedim grew in one night. And I want to say Hakdoma, a bisela, just a small Hakdoma, yeah. Parshas Keirach is about the Kohanim. The whole part about the Kohanim. It talks about Kairach. Kairach makes a lot of noise. Kairach makes a lot of trouble. Kairach has a lot of the attention. But really, the Torah of Parshas Kairach is about the Kahuna. Why? Because from the beginning of the Parsha till the very, very end of the Parsha, it talks about all the things that revolve around the Kahuna. And there's an Akudah. Kairach has a theme that runs through it from the very, very first pasuk until the very, very last pasuk as a constant, as a continuum, as an uninterrupted constant. And what is that? That everything about the Kahuna is Bizrizos. The constant of Parshas Kairach is that when it comes to Koyanim, everything happens fast. Right? We all learn in the Gemara. Koyanim Zrizim Heim. Koyanim do things very efficiently, very quickly, with alacrity. Right? The Chazal ask, how could a man stand in the Beis HaMikdash and be involved with shechting animals and blood is spraying and it's a mess, and his begodim have to be spotless? If with one drop of blood is the beggar to the kohen, it's no good. So the Chazal say they were so efficient, they were so precise, that even though they were surrounded by all of these unclean things, they were perfectly clean. And the same is true in the Beis HaMikdash. All of the avodah that the kohenim did, everything about the kahuna was as rizos. What people don't necessarily realize is that this idea of kohenim zrizim heim is not only that kohenim's nature is zrizos, but that the Eibishter set up that everything that surrounds the kohenim has to do with Zrizis. I'm going to give you an example which is not in Pashas Kerach. What's the example that's not in Pashas Kerach? Birchas Keyanim. Where's Birchas Keyanim? It's in Pashas Nosei, a few weeks before. What do we know about Birchas Keyanim? And of course this is brought in Sfarim. The Birchas Keyanim is, the Lashon is Ad Meheira Yoretz Devarim. The bracha of Birchas Keyanim comes from higher than Seder Yishtalshus. And it comes through from higher than Seder Yishtalshus to lower than Seder Yishtalshus very, very quickly. There's a lot of Maimonic Hasidus that analyze Birchas Keyanim. And what these Maimonim say is that there's two possibilities. One is called Tefillah, and another is called Bracha. Tefillah means you ask the Eibishter for a new will, Yehi Ratzon. Bracha means you're not asking the Eibishter for a new will, you're asking the Eibishter to bring down something which already exists, Beruchnius, it should come down Begashmius. So Chassidus says that Birchas Keyanim is both. It's a Tefillah, it creates a Ratzon Chadash, and it's a bracha because it brings it down with a certainty. It brings it down with a zicherkeit, with a certitude. So my point is that the way Hasidus explains Pashas Kairach and the Kahuna, it's not the pshat that Kayanim's Rizimheim is an aspect that has to do with the personality of Kayanim. It's the way the Eibush to set up the priesthood. A Kayan gives a bracha, the bracha is materialized right away. And of course, what does Pashas Kairach teach us? You start up with a Kayin, you get punished right away. In Tanakh, Rashi brings that there was a Kayin God, his name was Uzzah. He was a good guy. He was a Melech Yehuda, he was a tzaddik. And he got him a shagas. He decided he wants to be a Kayin Gadol. And on Yom Kippur, he decided to supplant the Kayin Gadol and to do the Avodah. As he was standing on the Mizbeach, Tzaras appeared on his forehead. And he had to be isolated. His son was Amatzia, I believe. I mean, I don't know Navi very well, but I think his son was Amatzia. It's one of those rare instances where Amatzia succeeded his father during his lifetime. Because a melech, a metzeda, has to be isolated, has to be in quarantine. So he was not able to function as a leader. He lived a very long time. But his son succeeded him during his lifetime. Why? And it's a fachepet mit the kahuna. You don't start up with the kahuna because the punishment is swift. Another thing you have in our Pasha is this Mateyarin, right? That they took 12 sticks to represent each of the Shvatim, and in one night it produced ready to eat peiris, almonds. And Rashi says, why shkedim, of all the fruits in the world, why dafka almonds or almonds? And the answer is because they're mamadim, they grow very quickly. And it's a remez that when you mess with the kahuna, the punishment is instantaneous. So what I'm trying to portray is that everything about the kahuna, the personality of Kayanim, the bracha of Kayanim, and what happens when you mess with the Kayanim, and then the siman that the Eibishter gave to establish the kahuna, all happens very quickly. And I'm going to say this. This is Stam Geret, yeah? This is Stam Geret. I mean, however you slice and dice this, however you want to explain this, there is an inyan of Ata v'chatonim mikol ha'amim. It is an inyan of Ata v'chatonim mikol ha'amim. That the Eibishter made a havdalah, the Eibishter made a separation. The Eibishter made a separation between Yidden and all other peoples. Right? The Eibishter made a separation between Yidden and all other peoples. Like it says in Chumash Taki in Pashas Kerach. Beker v'yeda havayas asher lei. When morning comes, the Eibishter is going to establish who is his, v'eis HaKodesh, v'hikriv elav, etc., etc. So the Eibishter establishes the kahuna in the morning. So Rashi says, why Boiker? Why does Moshe Rabbeinu say tomorrow morning the Eibishter will establish the kahuna? So Rashi answers that when the Eibishter created his world, he made avdolas. Hashem made separations. How many separations did the Eibishter make in his world? So according to Halacha, there are 7 separations. That's why, even though Motzei Shabbos, we only say 4 havdalos, we don't say 7 havdalos. But when you have Yak Nahaz, when you have Motzei Shabbos to Yom Tiv, we say 7 havdalos. Mavdol ben Kedesh Lacheh, ben Elacheshech, ben Yisrael Amim, ben Yema Shvili Sheshizim. I said, ben Kedushas Yom Tiv, ben Kedushas Shabbos Evdalta, ves Yema Shvi, Misheshizimea, Maisa Gedashta Evdalta, ben Gedashtas Amcha Yisrael, ben Kedushas Echa. We say 7 havdalos, because the Eibishter made 7 separations in the world. between heaven and earth, between the day and the night, between the land and the sea, between the weekdays and Shabbos, between Yidden and Goyim, between Kohanim and Leviim, and between Leviim and Yisraelim. Maybe I'm missing one or two, but there's 7 Havdalas. The Gemara speaks about in the last Perek of Pesachim, which Bachram learned. There's 7 Havdalas. So Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Korach, you want to be a Kohen? Simple solution, make the day into the night. Make the night into the day. Make the land into the sea. The Eibishter created water, the Eibishter created land, and he made a mechitza. The water stays in the ocean, the land is land, and they don't mix. Why? Hashem made Havdalah. And when the Eibishter makes Havdalah, it's not just nature or circumstance, it's a koyach leki that separates this from this. So Moshe says, you understand you can't make day into night and night into day, yeah? Just as it's impossible to make day into night and night into day, it's impossible to make a Levi into a Kohen. The Eibishter established a Mechitza and Havdalah, an absolute separation. This is this, and this is this, and you cannot mix them. So I just want to say, I mean, one of the greatest miracles, I mean, Yidden are separate from Goyim. Now, of course, in the modern world, this is racist, and it's alle schlechte Sachen based on all of the false empathy, the misplaced rachmanis that our world is preoccupied with. But it's one of the greatest miracles. You know that. In last week's Parshas Pinchas. In Parshas Pinchas, we read how the Yidden were counted. So Rashi says that by every name of every single Yid, it says Hashem's name. Yud Kei. Whatever the name is, it starts off with a Hey and it ends with a Yud. If a person's name was Zerach, it says Hazarchi. A person's name is Pera, it says Ha-Parzi, with a Hey before and a Yud after. That's the seal, the Eibush that says every Yid was a Meyuchas. Even though they were slaves in Egypt, every single Yid, with the exception of the son of Shlomis Bas Divri, that the Teda points it out, they were all kosher. They were all Meyuchas. Because the Eibush created a separation with Yidden and Goyim, and Kvayocha, however the Eibush does it, he keeps it. And the truth is, the whole phenomenon of Kahuna is amazing. The phenomenon of Jews is amazing. But the phenomenon of Kahuna is amazing within Jews. Kohanim, I tell this to you, in the Jewish community there are secret societies, you know that? If you don't belong, you don't know what exists. One of the secret societies amongst the Jewish people is the Chevra Kadisha. It's the Chevra Kadisha. People join Chevra Kadisha. They have their own little secrets. They have their own stuff. Kohanim are a secret society. And I don't mean secret that no one knows that they are. That the means of preservation are private. Kohanim are taught when they turn 13 how to hold their fingers when they duchen. You're not allowed to hold your fingers like that because it's Hashem's name. Kohanim pass it along father to son for hundreds of generations. And the ones who need to know it, know it. Those who don't need to know it, don't know how to know it. And that's the way it stays. There's a certain Havdalah, the Eibishter manages, ain't safe, that he created separations in his world, and he keeps the separations. And one of the separations is the separation of Kahuna. Kairach tries to violate it, and the Eibishter tells him this is inviolable, you can't. And again, I'm repeating what I started with, the Nekuda of the whole of Parshas Kairach, and Beklal, everything that revolves around the Kahuna is Rizis. It all happens fast. Let's read it inside. Page 169. Second paragraph. Sipuri Ateda. If there is a story in the Teda, it's Chelik Me Ateda, it's a part of the Teda. They say Meres, in other words, Shehi Musir Haskell Vehera, it's a lesson in Musir. And it's a teaching behind Hagaseinu, how we must behave. We have to learn from the union of the Kohanim, and specifically from the Siman for the Kahuna, which is the Matei Aharein, a way in serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Rebbe continues. Ha'ira misipar anal. The lesson from the story is HaKoyin Hayanimtza b'Mishkan. The Kohen is in the holy place. V'avodas Hashem ba'avedis HaKabanos v'chulu. He serves Hashem in bringing Kabanos and so forth. The Kohen needed to be pure all the time. He should be able to serve Hashem with purity. And of course, when it comes to Kohanim, and this applies, by the way, to male Kohanim and not to female Kohanois, there's an Isser for a Kohen to become Tommy. It's also for a Kohen to become Tommy. If a Kohen becomes Tommy, he gets Malchus Achmanolitz. Kohanim are not allowed to become Tommy. There's a special dispensation that for the Shiva Krevim, his father, his mother, his brother, his sister, his son, his daughter, and his wife, not only is a Kohen allowed to become Tamei, a Kohen is mechuyev to become Tamei. Lo Yitama is not the Shus, it's a Chayva. A Kohen Gadol is not allowed to become Tamei even to the 7 immediate relatives, but otherwise a Kohen has a Chiyuv to be tied all the time. Yidden don't have a Chiyuv to be tied. A Yid let it be Tamei. A Yid can eat Tamei food. There's no Chiyuv on a Yid to eat what's called Chulin al Taharas HaKodesh. Special Jews, they were called Chavedim, undertook, they were called Chavedim, to be Eichli Chulin B'Tahara, but regular Yidden don't have to be taught, only a Kohen has to be taught. Only Chayev Adam, Yitad Atzmei Baregel. On Yom Tif, every Yid had a Chiyuv to be, before Yom Tif, every Yid had to go to Paraduma and Mikveh, whatever it was, to remove all Tumas, because there's a special Chiyuv that on Yom Tif you have to be taught. There's a very interesting halacha, that there's such a thing called an Amaretz. Amaretz doesn't know a lot of Torah. And Amaretz on Yom Tif is assumed to be Tahir. The minute Yom Tif is over, the Amaretz is assumed to be Tamei. Even there's no time elapsed. So what happens if an Amaretz touch food on Yom Tif? And then Yom Tif passed. On Yom Tif you can eat that food. It's Tahir. The minute after Yom Tif, the Amaretz Tamei, is the food that he touched on Yom Tif Tamei because now Yom Tif is over? Or is the food not Tamei because he hasn't touched since Yom Tif? And there's different opinions in halach. But the point is, a Yid, a Yisrael, has a chiv to be tahir only Yom Tif. Koyanim have to be tahir always. And the Rebbe says, why? Because they're servants. Right? That's what the Rebbe says it. They're servants. Even though Koyanim were not in the Beis HaMikdash, the average Kohen was in the Beis HaMikdash 3 days a year. 3 days a year, it's only work. A Kohen has to always be ready for service. A Kohen has to be tahir. Says the Rebbe, this is the lesson. Obviously, halachically, a Yid, by the way, this even applies nowadays. A Kohen is not allowed to go to a cemetery. A Kohen is not allowed to go into a hospital. Even though we all have, all Kohenim are Tamei. Every Kohenim are Tamei. A Kohen goes to the Levaya of his father or his mother. He becomes Tamei. He's not allowed to be Marabeh. He's not allowed to stay an extra minute. And that's, in other words, he's not allowed to, even though he's Tamei, there's no Para Aduma, he's not allowed to become more Tamei. Which is weird. I mean, how can there be more Tamei? Tamei is Tamei, huh? That's the din. Kohenim are not allowed to go into a Beis HaChaim, even though everybody knows they're Tamei, and there's no Para Aduma, because every time he goes into the Beis HaChaim, he's over another lav. And you need a special heter for him to be able to do this. And the lesson is in Avodah. It says, there's a lesson in Avodah. There are certain hours that all of us are like a Kohen. The hours that we're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly, which is Limud HaTorah, Tefillah, Hakim HaMitzvahs. And we're learning Torah, we're davening, we're doing mitzvahs. And again, I'm adding, a Kohen is always a servant. Stam Hayid has times in the day when he's in service, or of service, or busy with service. It says the Rebbe, Shebe'esam HaShoes, Harehu B'Bchinas Kohen. In those hours when he's a servant of Hashem, he's the Madrega of a Kohen. Obizman Zen, during that time, Doro Sheyir B'Taram Yechedes. But Klal Yid is supposed to be tired. But during the time that a Yid, Stam Yid, a private, a Yisrael, is serving Hashem, he has to be more closer to the union of a Kohen, which means he has to have a higher standard of Torah. It's interesting, right? On the previous page, the Rebbe spoke a Sicha to girls, right? Same Pashas Keach, same day. What did the Rebbe talk about? Levium, not to the girls, to the boys from Boston. A few days before, what did he talk about? Levium. Now he's talking to the boys from Oil Moshe. He's talking about Kohen. It's interesting how the Rebbe chooses what lesson. I guess has to do with what day of the week it was. What lesson he's going to teach each group. So for some reason, the boys from Boston he taught about Levi. The boys from Oil Moshe he's teaching the union of Kohen. Why I don't know. Let's read further. Says the Rebbe, when you're playing ball, or you're involved in vocation, you're panos, of course, by a Yid, Tahara always applies. But it particularly applies when you're involved in holy things. When one learns, Tefillah, one davens, when one's doing mitzvahs. There's a need for a higher standard of Tahara, which means machshaves teheres, pure thoughts, me'ach zav alev Torah, pure, a clear mind, and a pure heart. And of course, the big dilemma is, if before davening and after davening, the moich and the lev are not pure, it's kind of hard to show up to davening and they should be pure. The reality of life is, if you want to be pure, when you daven, you have to be pure and before and after. But the focus is the purity during the davening. Says the Rebbe. So the lesson number one, that even though we're not kohanim, when we're davening and learning, doing mitzvahs, we're in the madrega of kohanim, and there's a need for extra time. Lesson number two, hasimin lekunase shalat hayashkedim. There was a sign for this kahuna. There was a witness for this kahuna. There brings two words before, simin and edus, because this mata Adam was preserved, right? Moshe Rabbeinu put it in the Holy of Holies, and it's there ad hayom hazeh, that later on someone's going to come and complain, who appointed you a kohen? You'll take out the mountain. Look, the Eibishter made a nest thousands of years ago to determine, to establish that there is a family of kohenim, and nobody else has a right to think about becoming, to invade the space of the kahuna. So the Rebbe says, and the siman is shkedim, almonds. Says the Rebbe, shkedim hu apedi. Shkedim are fruits. They're berpiates. Hamar lafriach mkal. It's the quickest to blossom, to flower, and to grow than any other fruit. The hainu, in other words, shesheyez man pochas beyesed mehanatia ad apricha. From the time that you planted initially until the time pricha means blossoming. But I assume it doesn't only mean blossoming; it means actually fruiting, ripening. They should be able to use it as the quickest. Just like by the kahuna of Aaron Akeya, that it happens quickly. The same is true in the priesthood of every Jew. Shehi Avedas Hashem Kanal, which is serving Hashem. Says the Rabbi Hasimin lekahunase hu ashkedim. The sign of the priesthood is shkedim. Claim it in other words. Shakasher machlet, when one decides Hashem to do the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to be like a ripening fruit that happens quickly. All obstacles in one's paths are removed. Of course, Hashem has the ability to remove all obstacles. From the good thought, the good decision to serve Hashem, perech miyad, it ripens immediately, it blossoms immediately. Believe kol manias, without any difficulties. Ma'asatev, all good. The Rebbe, when you listen to the Rebbe talk, it sounds so easy. When you experience it in life, it's just a drop more complicated. But the Rebbe says, what's the lesson of the kahuna? You make a decision to serve him, the Eibush, to make sure there's no obstacles. Says the Rebbe, you're yeshiva bacharim, children learning in yeshiva, learn Torah, Torah says Hashem. The Rebbe says, this is the kahuna of your life. A kid goes to yeshiva, he learns Torah. Think about being a yeshiva bacher. I think about being a yeshiva bacher all the time. Why? Because I'm not a yeshiva bacher. I'm in more or less ba'al shel Torah, but I'm not a yeshiva bacher. Yeshiva bacher, I have sons, they sit, and that's all they do. They sit and learn Torah. That means that's the kahuna of your life. You need to know if you have to be purer than other people, pure in your thoughts, and pure in all of your conduct, more than other people. 170. When you'll resolve be'emes in your thought, and add in Torah, tefillah, and mitzvahs, Hashem will take away all obstacles. Just from thinking about it, will happen actually. Like it says in the Gemara, your guy to me says, I don't want to keep Rabbi Blooming waiting, but I must tell you this word. The Frierdiker Rebbe wrote a letter, which is printed in the Akdom of Kuntres Eitz HaChayim. This letter, when it was written and publicized, made a big noise in Poland. The people were very unhappy. What's the theme of the letter? The theme of the letter is called Midas HaHishtavos. That's what he calls it. The measure of Hishtavos. Hishtavos means parity. Hishtavos means parity. I mean, everyone's the same. And the Frierdiker Rebbe laments it. He says, not everyone's the same. There's a balabos, there's a businessman, there is a person who's a blue-collar worker, and there's a yeshiva bachar. And then there's a ben Torah, there's a Rosh Yeshiva, there's a Rav. And the Frierdiker Rebbe says, it used to be that if you had the schus to be involved in Olah Shel Torah, you knew that your difference between you and the other person was not only that you learned Torah. You had to dress different, you had to walk different, you had to talk different. Like the Rambam writes, you had to eat different, you had to sleep different. Everything about your life had to be different. The Rambam writes that when a ben Torah does things like another person does, and for the other person it's perfectly legitimate. But if a ben Torah does the same thing, it could be ayin from Chilul Hashem. That's what the Rambam writes. So the Frierdiker Rebbe writes, what come now is, people sit and learn Torah a whole day, and they don't understand that they're supposed to be different. In their mind, they're regular people like anybody else, but they're learning Torah. And the Rebbe said, this is an ill. It's a chassadah. A ben Torah, a yeshiva bachar, has to know that he's not only a yeshiva bachar because at certain hours a day he learns, his identity is the yeshiva bachar. And you have to see it in his eating, in his drinking, in his walking, in his talking, in his dress, in his business, in his sleep, in his socializing, in every aspect of his life. You have to see this is a different kind of a person. Because this is the point, you're a kohen. You're not a kohen in yichus, but you're a kohen in the piece of your life. And again, it's very interesting how here the Rebbe chooses to give a lesson from the Kahuna, and 2 days before, the Rebbe gave a very similar lesson, but from Levi.